We saw yesterday PGA Tour taking some action. What's happened in the Greater Hartford Open, where you've had some players and caddies who have left the tournament, and that includes Webb Simpson, and his caddy is Paul Tesori, who joins us now on the program. Paul, thanks for joining us. So what happened? How long were you in Hartford, and when did you realize that your week was going to end a little sooner than you expected?
Yeah, Dan, thanks for having me on. Yeah, so flew up Monday afternoon. We were fortunate enough to win last week on the PGA Tour in Hilton Head, and came home for half a day and flew up. And Tuesday was a very, very normal day. As the day progressed, you started to hear some rumblings of some tests that had maybe come back not the way we had hoped. And the first one we had heard was Cameron Champ, a young 26-year-old on tour bomber who had tested positive. And so he was out of the tournament. And then as the day kind of progressed, we're standing on the putting green, and we had heard some other rumors about there was another positive test. And as we're sitting there, Webb gets a phone call and finds out someone in his family had tested positive for COVID-19. And so, there we are on the putting green. Obviously, we got a lot of people around. Immediately, we start going into a different mode as far as Weber and I, trying to decide, okay, what do I need to do instantly right now while we decide? So we left the putting green. We went and contacted the PGA Tour and started to have discussions with them. What's the protocol at this point going forward? Obviously, Webb had been exposed because he's been with his daughter during this significant amount of time. And it's impossible to know. Webb took a test Tuesday and Wednesday morning, negative on both of them, but he just felt like to protect the tournament and to make sure, more than anything, Webb's fifth in the world right now. He's leading the FedEx Cup. And the last thing you want, I think, is kind of one of those names taking, even though it's a small chance, taking a chance of infecting anybody else. So he made the decision to withdraw.
When did you get tested?
So we test starting this week. Well, we're tested every day when you come in. So I was tested Tuesday morning and Wednesday morning, me personally. Same with Weber, Tuesday and Wednesday. Generally, all you are is when you come in and you register. If that's on a Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday, you're tested. And then you're only tested again when you're leaving the golf tournament to go on the charter, which would be a Saturday. I know Commissioner Monahan yesterday talked about we're going to change that a little bit. We're going to up it up at least one more test per week just to make sure that we keep everybody safe.
How is your job different with these new rules?
There's a lot of things that are different. The older we get, we're all creatures of habit. And so many things are just very natural to you, whether it's the handshake in golf is, really famous. We see it in basketball and other sports as well, but the handshake, that's obviously gone. But, the tour doesn't want us even fist bumping, just no contact if you can. And so I think that's the number one. As far as caddy player, it's tough. We try to stay 6 feet apart by keeping the golf bag in between us, but I read greens with Webb, so there's several occasions where I'm going to be inside that 6-foot zone, not for long periods of time, probably between 5 and 10 seconds. But, as far as that's concerned, he's been tested, I've been tested, we're clean, and we're not going outside that bubble at all during the week. And I think that's the big part that the tour is really battling right now is we, meaning caddies and players, we have to do our job. And it's getting better each week. The first week was not very good, and we got some pretty stern warnings from the tour. Guys, we have to do this well. We got the world watching us, but also we don't want to shut down. The second week, but now guys are starting to get a little scared. We've had 4 positive tests, and we've done 2,800 tests, so 4 is still a very, very low number, but guys are seeing the ramifications now of what's happening. Number 4 ranked player in the world, Brooke Koepka, has to go home. 5th ranked player in the world, Webb Simpson, has to go home. And, that might just be the start of something to scare the guys enough to make sure they stay safe.
He's Webb Simpson's caddy, Paul Tesori, who joins us on the program. Could players carry their own bags at some point here?
So I'm going to say no. I'm going to make fun of the players first as I do that. Definitely golf is a little cooler than it used to be at one point. We've got some pretty talented athletes playing golf now. I think this is the Tiger generation that we see. You got these kids coming out 6'3", 6'4", big broad shoulders. So the answer is they could. The answer from this guy staring at my nice lake here in the backyard that I have is I hope not, because Webb's great play, BJ's great play has paid for a lot of the stuff that I'm sitting at right now. So I hope not. I don't think it will come to that. Again, I always have to say if we do our job. Obviously, if Commissioner Monahan's sitting back and he's looking at week after week after week, if he's watching players and caddies a foot from each other, then he may be rushed to a decision that, like, I have to stop that for a little while. But the players would not do a great job, and they would have nobody to blame. If they hit a bad shot, the first thing they do would be like, "Are you? Oh, there's nobody there. There's nobody there to blame." So,
I always love when they miss a putt. They always look at the caddy.
It's the same look every time. It's this one. So, but I do not think we will see that, and I got to be honest with you, Dan. I hope it doesn't come to that.
I was also wondering about, now's the time to play against Tiger Woods, because guys talk about the galleries that surround Tiger, and it's just something you can't prepare for. Like, there's no gallery. How weird is it that there's no response, no reaction, no nothing, silent?
It's completely strange. At Hilton Head, I watched the number one player in the world, Rory McIlroy, make a 35-footer on his last hole of the day. And nothing. Not a clap from anybody. Not one clap from media, obviously, or anybody else around. And that was strange. And then coming down the stretch on Sunday at Hilton Head, I think one thing you saw is, for the first time in my life, I've never seen so many different players make so many birdies down the stretch. There was 7 to 9 guys that were just pouring in putts from everywhere, hitting it close. And I do think the fans have a little bit to do with it. I talked to Webb. Webb said he felt the same. While I understand him meaning that, I do think there's a difference if you're coming down the last 3 holes with 50,000 people yelling and screaming versus no one. There has to be a little bit less of a physical response to that, and I think we saw that by the caliber of play down the stretch last week.
What's your favorite Tiger Woods story?
Oh, I got a bunch of them. I'm the Tiger Who guy that wore the stupid hat, and so he had a field day with me.
Wait, explain that. Explain that.
Yes, okay. So back in 2000, I'm working my 3rd event as a caddy. I'm working for Vijay Singh, and Vijay was the only guy that held back Tiger from winning the Grand Slam that year. Vijay had won the Masters. Tiger won the next 3. Played in the President's Cup. We've played against Tiger every match. The United States team is blowing out the international team. I was with Vij on the international team. And so we get paired with Tiger the last day. Ball guys have some hats that say Tiger Who. I think it's hilarious. VJ thinks it's hilarious. We wear it. We're on the 4th hole, and VJ has to 2-putt from 9 feet. And there's crickets. You hear nothing. And you look over there on the side, and Tiger's standing like this with his arms crossed and a scowl on his face. So VJ puts it down to, it's hanging over the hole. I'm not embellishing the hanging over the hole. If we sit there long enough, it would have gone in. We hear crickets again. We look back over, and he's still got his arms crossed in the scowl. And Tiger loves this story now, so we're definitely not ruining any kind of inside scoop. And BJ looked at me and goes, "I don't think he likes the hat." So as we tap it in from a millimeter away for par to win the hole to go 2 up, Tiger had not played well that week. Notah Begay had covered him all week. And on the next hole, Tiger turned a little more, hit about a 305-yard, 1-yard draw, 7 under on his last 13. And beat 2-1. And so my favorite part of the story is that Tiger and I had never really talked about it. I ended up working for Sean O'Hare, played a lot of practice rounds with him, but I was working for Weber in 2011, and Tiger was walking by, and I just turned to Weber. I was like, it's weird. I still feel like there's just that little something there with him and I, and I wish there wasn't. It was meant as a joke, not disrespect. And he walked by. I said, "What's up, Tiger Who?" He said, "What's up, 2-1?" He walked about another 20 yards. He turned around with that big grin that we've gotten used to seeing. He laughed. But you have to think about that. He probably thought of 2-1 every time he saw me, because there was no time lapse between when I said, "What's up, Tiger Who?" and 2-1. And then this year at the President's Cup for picture day, he had everybody wear Paul Who on the back and 2-1 to pay me back. So that's probably my favorite. I have got a ton of them. He's both helped me build nice houses and places to live, and he's also taken a lot out of my pocket at the same time. So I'm glad that we all as fans get to see the new Tiger Woods. I think we're seeing the Tiger Woods after obviously golf humbled him a little bit, but also with kids now. Kids change all of us. So it's great to see how joyful he is now on the golf course.
Most famous person you've either caddied for or played golf with?
So definitely President Clinton when he was in office. He gave the Milosevic indictment trial from the front gate at White Oak Plantation, and we played with him 5 straight days. It was some of the best times I had had in my entire life. You could give him crap, and he loved it. He loved the more junk you talked to him, the better he liked it. So that would be it. And then next would probably be playing with Michael Jordan. I was fortunate enough to play 9 holes with him. And and just ask a lot of stories. And he took a little money from me at the end of it, and that was the set of that.
Well, it feels like you have to give him money to get the stories, right? Because
that might be it.
Yeah,
that might be it.
Yeah, Paul, you paid for those stories, just so you know. Hey, before I let you go, I know that you have the Tesori Family Foundation, and it's certainly important and close to your heart, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about that.
Yeah, thank you. I'll just keep it brief, but yeah, our foundation, we started in 2010. We've been able to give back a little over $1.5 million to the local communities and a little bit throughout the country as well. We put on these all-star kids clinics for kids with special needs, 25 kids, one-on-one instruction. So check us out, TesoriFamilyFoundation.org, and any way you can help us, we welcome it.
Thanks for joining us on short notice, and our best to Webb, who, once he figured out putting again, he's amazing. Yes, and congrats really on the win at Hilton Head.
Dan, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Everybody stay safe.
That's Paul Tesori. He's Webb Simpson's caddy.